What's crackin', everybody, and welcome back to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe World Record Review, April 2021. It's time to cover a very exciting month for 200cc, which saw 39 new world records set across 11 tracks. Before we begin, we'd like to remind you that we are still looking for feedback on how to improve this series, so if you have anything you'd like to tell us, let us know in the comment section. I can't think of anything else I have to say, other than here are all of the 200cc world records we saw happen in April of 2021. Let's start giving her, bud.
The first track improved on 200cc was DS Wario Stadium, where P improved his record 5 times on April 3rd. He started with a 122.065, which was a reverse sub-choke like his .113. Lap 1 was great, but lap 2 was pretty bad. The first 2 turns were very wide, and those alone made the lap a .9. P's next time was a 122.060, followed by a 122.032 and a 122.016, and finally the sub at a 121.974. This run is pretty solid and very consistent. Lap 1 was average. The turn before the ramp saved a lap because it made his line into the anti-gravity much better. The drift and trick were awful, and he got little air from the MT trick, which lost a few frames. On lap 2, the first 2 turns were very wide. The MT boost panel carried the lap, and he went very close to the wall after the 4th boost panels, which gained even more time. The first MT into the anti-gravity was late, which made him cut very little off-road during the hop and messed up his alignment at the next turn. On lap 3, the first 2 turns were great, but he went a bit wide before the first boost panel drift. His MT boost panel was bad because he started the drift too tight, which forced him to release the MT late to avoid hitting the wall. The rest of the lap was good and barely brought in the sub. The best note splits give a 121.719, and P says they can still be improved. His end goal here is a low to mid .8, and he will be going for it during the summer. Congratulations, P, on your records here this month.
One day, Army failed to start up boost timing on Thwomp Ruins. However, instead of letting himself burn out, he held down L to do a start shroom. This somehow kind of worked, so he gave the strat some more tries, and it happened to save around .1, linked up with the wall ride coin strat to get 1 extra coin overall. On top of this, there was Motion Glider. Army was very new to it on this track, and didn't even know if it saved until lap 2, where he entered the glider section behind his ghost, but landed ahead. Checks out. Army says that Motion Glider saves around 125 milliseconds overall if done right all 3 laps, and all of these strats combined add up to an astronomical time save of 225 milliseconds, which shows how bad this 117.299 record is, since it only improved the former world record by 6 milliseconds. However, Army improved this time multiple times the next day on April 6th to a 117.291, then a .275, a .222, and then a 117.216. Alberto actually jumped in to get a 117.160, which was his first PR with the new strats, so it was far from perfect, and he wasn't surprised it didn't last long. Later in the day, Army got a 117.081, which actually implemented another new strat found by Genswa. As Army describes it, this strat, quote, abuses the game's physics and makes your vehicle do weird stuff. This is only done on lap 3, where you can land on the ramp to the right and tilt up right before touching it to go then incredibly fast in the air. In this run, lap 3 was actually very bad considering how much the strat saves. The next day, Army improved 3 times. First, with a 116.998, which had a, quote, lucky Genswa strat that clutched the sub. We'll go more in depth on the strat in a second, but you can't really control how much it gains. Army then improved to a 116.954, and finally a 116.922. This had a great pace into lap 3, and the overall driving was nice and satisfying for Army. Alright, let's talk more about this wonky new strat. Special thanks to P for this analysis. This strat gains time for the same reason that glider input saves during the Sunshine Airport 150cc glider. It makes your kart move towards the desired position by moving diagonally towards it. Steering to a side during some gliders doesn't lose time, as your kart keeps all the forward momentum, but also adds diagonal momentum towards the finish line. In this image, you can see that the vehicle points slightly to the right, meaning steering to the left during the glider is faster as long as your glider speed doesn't decline by doing it. Genswa's glider here uses a new tech which enhances the glider input effect. The glider ramps on Thwomp Ruins let you keep your glider after tricking on them, and it pushes you slightly up in the air if you hit it early enough. and keeps pushing you up in the air until the trick boost activates. For Jenswa's glider, you motion glider and then turn off motion right before hitting the ramp. Your kart tries to correct the way it's angled to become horizontal like it would be without the glider input, but then you trick on the ramp and it locks the vehicle's horizontal movement to try and push the vehicle slightly up in the air, which it does. But it just paused the motion glider's effect on the glider movement for about 400 milliseconds. Because of this, when the trick boost activates, all of the motion glider movement that was paused activates, making the vehicle fly to the left for about 550 milliseconds. And because of the trick boost, the forward movement is preserved so it gains even more time. Well done, Jenswa. The best known splits give a 116.749. Congratulations to Army and Alberto on their records, and huge shout out to Jenswa once again for finding this amazing new strat.
After a month-long absence from the track on 200cc, Panda will return to Wii Grumble Volcano and improve his own world record 5 times in under a week. The first of which was on April 7th, with a 70 millisecond cut to a 122.617. Panda was quite happy with this large cut, and the lap 2 was the strongest out of all of his time this month. Also, on April 7th, he got a 122.599, with a sub 27 second lap 3, which was one of, if not the first sub 27 lap 3 Panda had gotten. On April 9th, Panda improved twice. First, he improved by 8 milliseconds to a 122.591, and then by 45 milliseconds to a 122.546. On lap 2, Panda got a cheeky spin drift exiting the cave into the glider. Overall, he was happy with his hefty improvement, putting him on pace for the .4, which he achieved on April 10th, with a 74 millisecond cut down to a 122.472. Lap 1 was very satisfying for Panda. It had no major mistakes, and the disc was above average, including the exit. Lap 2 was slightly disappointing. The lines weren't bad, and the disc was above average once again, but the final ramp trick was very high and slow, which lost him a lot of time. Lap 3 was a very fast lap that is almost BKS. The lines are good, the shroom is good, and the final disc is very good, somehow managing to get a fast and tight exit into the finish line. Overall, Panda is satisfied to achieve a .4 here. He says the time could definitely go down, but for an inconsistent track like this time is quite good. The best known splits give a 122.225, and Panda does plan on bringing this down again in the near future. Congratulations, Panda, on your records here this month.
On April 15th, Panda returned to GCN Yoshi Circuit after 106 days and improved his own world record twice. The first was a 10 millisecond improvement to a 113.982. Lap 1 was a pretty good lap with no major mistakes. Lap 2 was a very good lap and close to BKS. Lap 3 was going well until the ending where he hesitated the little Nisk, causing him to miss the UMT and almost cost the record. Panda quickly improved his time though by 84 milliseconds down to a 113.898. Lap 1 was faster than the previous run, and Panda didn't have much to say other than that it's a solid lap. Lap 2 was once again very good, and lap 3 was also solid. Overall, Panda was happy to improve here after meaning to for a long time. This was a very consistent run that was just enough for the .8, which is nice. The best known splits here give a 113.782. Congrats Panda on your records here this month.
The next track to be improved was Bone Dry Dunes. On April 19th, Panda continued his 466-day reign on the track with an improvement of 56 milliseconds to a 119.845. Lap 1 started out pretty bad with a bounce at the NISC, but the rest of the lap was driven quite well. The lines on lap 2 were driven very safe, and the shroom was subpar, making it overall not the greatest lap. Lap 3 was a very good lap with no major mistakes. Overall, Panda is quite happy to have improved here after meaning to for so long, and he points out that this run was the first 119.8, which is pretty cool. The best known splits give a 119.570. Congratulations, Panda, on your time here this month.
3DS Neo Bowser City would see a rapid-fire burst of world records this month, with Alberto improving his own record 7 times in just a few days. But MarioKartWorldRecords.com has all these runs listed on the same day. I wonder why. On April 13th, Alberto improved by 87 milliseconds to a 119.295. Before we get into all these improvements, let's explain a strat. You can wall boost from the part of the wall that sticks out right before getting into the bridge where you release an SMT, saving close to 0.1 per lap. It can be even more if you do it very cleanly, but it is difficult to pull off. This .295 had 0 for 3 wall clips, and the lap 2 ending was awful. The next few improvements Alberto didn't upload, but they were a 119.251 on April 13th, a 119.207 on April 14th, and a 119.191, 119.167, and 119.087 on April 16th. Alberto said that this April 16th session was insane. He felt a huge improvement with his skill on the track, as he went from barely getting .1 paces to choking several subs in just a few minutes. The .087 run happened shortly after a very painful 118.8 fail, which had an incredible lap 1 without wall boost, a new BKS lap 2 with the wall boost, and then a clutch lap 3 wall boost followed by a choke on the S turns. Alberto's final record was a 119.068. The pace into lap 3 was bad, but Alberto then got his first decently driven lap 3. The run overall had 0 for 3 wall boosts again, which was annoying. The best known splits give a 118.895, and Alberto says that he doesn't know when, but he will go for the sub at some point. Congratulations Alberto on your records here this month.
New strats have been found on Excitebike Arena, which allowed Alberto to cut P's reign just short of 1 year, achieving his first world record on the track on April 18th, with a 115.395, improving the world record by a nice 69 milliseconds. Lap 1 was fairly good, but can be improved by getting a low trick before the shortcut and a better ending. Lap 2 implements a small new strat Alberto had been using for a while, which isn't the quote-unquote broken strat we'll get to soon. Alberto does an MT before the shortcut trick, which doesn't make a huge difference time-wise, but makes it easier for him to get the coin and a lower trick. The biggest time loss on this lap was a missed mini-turbo trick after the second boost ramp, which lost between 100 and 150 milliseconds. Lap 3 is where the broken strat comes in. It consists of barely fitting in an extra MT on the straightaway before drifting on the beginning ramps, which gives massive airspeed. Then MT trick as normal, aim for the first ramp after landing instead of avoiding it to drift off of it. Then MT trick the ramp before the shortcut. This strat gains close to 0.2, which is why Alberto got the record by a nice amount even with the missed MT trick on lap 2. Overall, this run is very well driven for Alberto standards, but he is not satisfied with it due to that failed MT trick, so he may return in the future. He said it is also possible to do the small new strat on lap 2 if you could get the extra coin after the first boost ramp, but it's a bit difficult. The best known splits give a 115.126. Congratulations Alberto on your record here this month.
And now we transition from the long oval to the short oval, because it wouldn't be a world record review without Baby Park 200cc. On April 23rd, Alpha reclaimed his record again, improving EternalX's time by 3 milliseconds down to a 44.964. Alpha said that the laps 1 and 2 pace was average, but laps 3 through 7 were good, especially lap 4. 2 days later, on April 25th, EternalX took the record back, cutting it down by 29 milliseconds to a 44.935. Eternal's pace entering lap 3 was actually pretty slow, mainly due to lap 2. His laps 3 through 7 pace was insane though, being the fastest ever in a world record. Lap 6 was very close to the BKS. If it weren't for a slow lap 2, this run could have easily been a mid 44.8, so there is still some room for improvement, but this record is extremely strong regardless. The best known splits with the current Shroom strat give a 44.512. Congratulations to Alpha and EternalX on your records here this month.
Ladies and gentlemen, it finally happened. After a heartbreaking 111.001 record in January, 4 laps to win has finally achieved the first 110 on Animal Crossing, improving his own world record by 4 milliseconds to a 110.997 on April 25th. It's about time. Lap 1 was good up until the glider, where things got a little worse, but the shortcut was great. On lap 2, the log trick wasn't the best, but other than that, it was going really well until the shortcut, which lost around 20 milliseconds because he didn't get a good first hop on the second part of the shortcut and saved it by playing the rest of the shortcut safer than usual. Lap 3 was actually insane. It carried the run and ultimately gave 4 laps the sub. 4 laps says that the beach is very fast for him and one of the best beaches he's ever done. The SC was also a 4-hop SC, which is the first 4-hop shortcut in a world record, and it's only really viable on lap 3 because you end up too far left for the first turn on the next lap. You could do a hop right as you trick, but 4 laps hasn't tried it yet. He also found a new strat here back in January which saves up to about 50 milliseconds, but it's easily the hardest trick on the entire track. This is most effective on lap 1 because on laps 2 and 3 it's harder to get the SMT on the next turn. Forgetting about these new strats for a second, this run is extremely strong and a huge achievement. 4 laps has been on the grind for a while, and it's great to see the sub finally happen. The best known splits give a 110.879. Congratulations 4 laps to win on your record here this month.
Quite possibly the most interesting development of a track in 200cc this month happened on Wii Moo Moo Meadows. On what was previously seen as an insanely optimized track with almost no room for new strats and had one of the game's strongest world records, Alberto discovered a new strat that unlocks so much room for more improvement in the world record. It looks like this. Compared to the old strat of getting a high MT trick off of the mole path, going to the boost ramp and tricking off of it, you now get a low trick off the mole path, counter slide, then drift off the boost ramp, then land on the mole path in front of the boost ramp and MT trick off of it. You have to have gotten a pretty solid lap 1 to attempt this strat, so keep that in mind if you're looking to try it out. This new strat saves roughly 150 milliseconds over the old MT trick strat, and it debuted in Army's 58.857 run on April 29th, which improved his own world record by 19 milliseconds. This run actually wasn't that good at all, especially laps 2 and 3, but Army improved 2 more times on the same day. The first was by 52 milliseconds to a 58.805, and then by 11 milliseconds to get the 0.7 at a 58.794. Army said that lap 1 was just plain slow. Any 0.8 lap 1 is unacceptable. Lap 2 went really well and was the new best known split though. Lap 3 was below average and the shortcut exit was really slow. The best known splits at the end of April gave a 58.615, and Army did continue improving the track in May, so stay tuned for that. Congratulations Army on your records here this month.
The finale of this insane month is, fittingly, also the finale of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Big Blue, where on April 30th, Almond tied Ronnie's world record and achieved a 1 minute .666 of his own. In Section 1, his first turn was nice. He got a tight line after the coins and hit the third boost panel in a good line. He edge grinded extremely well while getting 4 more coins and got a great line after the boost panel trick. While driving over the red belt, he was in a trick boost for a part of it, which is faster than going wide to avoid the red belt. He got an averagely tight SC, well-timed left hops after, and he hopped over the entire red belt, which was great. He then got an extremely tight Nisk. He went very close to the wall before being airborne, and he landed a bit early, but it probably lost about 1 or 2 frames against doing it optimally. In Section 2, he could have gone a bit tighter to the fence in the first turn. He got a great UMT release, and he neutral tricked, which helped him adjust his line and preserved more of the momentum from the water. His line during the Ultra was very good. He released the Super Mini Turbo too early, which doesn't help in the air, so it was a waste of boost time. He went very tight during the next SMT, but he went too tight for too long and released the MT too late, which loses time as well, because it's possible to release the MT during this air pocket. Doing so makes the cart slide to the left diagonally, which saves time because you still move forward at the same speed, but also diagonally, which moves you closer to the glider panel. In addition to that, you can also steer left during the MT, which saves time after the MT because you'd be pointing towards the glider instead of diagonally towards it like Almond did. Almond was about 40 milliseconds ahead of Ronnie, but all of his mistakes in the last turn resulted in him being only a frame ahead of him entering S3. In Section 3, he hit the first red boost panel and immediately went off the red belt. The time save on this straight depends on how well you minimize the contact with the red belt. Almond did that extremely well. He got a good side trick on the ramp, sent him a bit wide for the hairpin. He got a great wall hit to recover from it though, so he didn't lose any additional time from the wide line. He lost a bit of time there as well as in the next turn where he could have gone closer to the edge. He neutral drifted really well in the long turn. He went a bit wide in the first green path turn, and the rest of the green path was pretty clean. Almond does the ending Nisk differently than Ronnie, but they're equally fast if done properly. However, Almond's approach is more difficult as it depends on where the low gravity physics stop working on your cart. Right before landing, you need to be high enough in the air before the low gravity stops working. The low gravity physics disappear right in this frame in his run. Almond's shroom was great, and his line towards the finish line was risky, but saves a sub-frame, which might have been enough to bring in the record. At the moment, the best known splits add up to a 1 minute .550. Also worth noting is that Ronnie himself has tied his own world record on 5 different occasions. It's been painful to watch both of these players hard stuck at this time, but we know that they're bound to break through sometime soon. Congratulations to Almond on your record this month, and best of luck to both you and Ronnie on pushing through and improving this time.
And that'll do it for what has been one of the most exciting months in this game's time trial scene in a while. If you want to support all the people that work on this series, all of their channels will be in the description. They're all fantastic content creators in their own right, so let's see if we can't get SuperFX and JPGivin'er to 3,000 subs and Awoken to 200. Thanks for watching this edition of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe World Record Review, and we'll be back sometime in June to cover all the world records set in May of 2021. See you then!